Olia today, more than ever, was looking forward to the end of her working day as a bus conductor. She had been working here for 6 years already. She had gotten a job here before she got married, as soon as she finished school, and where could a girl without a family, a child from an orphanage, whom no one had ever come to visit, fit in? How offensive it was to her. It was to watch the weekends for girlfriends who were cheerfully chatting in the guest room, chatting with relatives and enjoying sweet treats, and then to do what she was terribly interested in, listening to her friend's story about what she was given this time. Although this was how her fate developed only for the first few years until the fourth class, and then she was taken into foster care by her adoptive parents. They were poor people, already at an age, decided at the end of their active life to raise a girl in the family, raised Olia as their own, tried to dress her, no worse than others. Father told her a lot about life. Mother fed her deliciously, and in their family, the girl finally oughta. Well, someone studied in a regular school, but then fate decided to test the girl's strength. Again it happened grief in their house, there was stove heating on that fateful day. Olia's mother let her spend the night with her best friend for the first time, and it saved her life. Her parents got carbon monoxide poisoning, they forgot to open the damper, they both died, leaving their adopted daughter an orphan. And so it turned out that after burying her parents, Olia had to gently look for a job. She needed something to live after school. Olia, so she didn't get into anything. Somehow it didn't work out, so it turned out that going to work as a conductor, as she thought for a while, she stayed here until now. However, these memories have faded into the shadows over time, because now she is the wife of a successful businessman. Her Seryoja works in a construction company as some kind of boss in the house. There is prosperity and comfort. Sergei has told Olia more than once, "Listen, quit your job. The money you earn has little meaning for the family if you stayed at home. Is it bad or something?" To which the wife invariably replied, "Seryoja, that I am at home, what will you do? Will you constantly be on the road? Sit with your mother, the two of you, you understand? It won't hurt two women with different tastes and views on life. Comfortable. I'm used to being on the move all day among people. I'd go crazy at home." And added, sometimes looking down and sighing, "We don't have children, that's the trouble. If I had a child, I would immediately quit my job and devote myself to motherhood." However, the absence of children is greater. Only Olia was worried about Sergei. He didn't really want to communicate on this topic. He was not burdened by such circumstances. Mother-in-law Elena Petrovna, maybe deep down in her soul she was thinking about grandchildren, which the young couple still doesn't have, but she didn't express her displeasure out loud. Well and okay, sometimes she was even happy about such a circumstance. "Olia, what now? If God doesn't give us children, I'll think about it. Yes, I'll suggest to Serge to take a kid from the orphanage to raise." However, today her thoughts were direct and completely different, because tomorrow an event will happen in her and Sergei's life. After all, it's 5 years ago. They got married. These memories of a happy wedding, about life with a loved one, the husband, immediately raised the woman's spirits. But still, somewhere in the depths of consciousness, these pleasant thoughts were slightly spoiled by the peculiarity of Seryoja's character. He was not memorable regarding various significant dates in their lives. It happened that he even forgot his birthday, which was a great disappointment for Olia. She attached importance to such dates, meaning tried to make this special day unusual, to cook something original for the table. Although Seryoja, of course, apologized for his forgetfulness, a bad feeling remained in his soul, even though he was a mother-in-law. In such cases, Olia used to say, "Don't attach any importance to this. Well, what's tragic here? My son got caught up in his production problems. Yes, and what was taken away, that he handed it over late and apologized." Olia nodded her head in agreement and thought to herself, "That's how it is. Yes, it's not for nothing that they say that a spoon is dear to the dinner table." And at this time, Sergei was approaching the station of his hometown in a carriage of an express train, and unpleasant thoughts were wandering through his head. Soon a joyful meeting was coming. In vain one could think that may a meeting with a wife from days. Irma, that's what name excited his soul and body. Irma, his new lover, because of whom he literally lost his mind when they met. A young Estonian filled all his feelings, and his wife's, they say. A wife is not a wally, you can move it. Here, and they arrived. Sergei, with a travel bag, stepped onto the perron, hurrying to the taxist, and the time was approaching midnight. but there was something to drink the edge of the bouquet to solemnate ears since they met, sitting in a taxi. He carefully reached into the inside pocket of his jacket, clutching a small box in his hand, taking it out, opened it, and in the dim light of the street lighting, quickly rushing Gosia taxi, once again with pleasure looked at the decoration laying inside a funny little thing. Iro will probably like it, he's very fond of such things. The cars drove closer to the house, but no matter how Sergey looked into the shops where they sell flowers, they were all closed. Here, bad luck, a thought flashed through my mind. Where can I buy a Bakut Commander? Slow down, suddenly seeing the light in the flower kiosk, which they had almost passed. The passenger shouted to the driver, who even flinched in surprise. The brakes squealed and the car stopped. "Why are you yelling like that?" The driver exclaimed. "Are you awake or something? It's not far from an accident." "Sorry, I urgently need a bouquet here. I just remembered the flower kiosk. The first one on the way." I came across in a flash now and jumped out of the car, approaching the house, and by this time he had already managed to disguise the box in a bouquet. Anticipating what a surprise I had prepared, he suddenly remembered, "Oh my God! Yes! Today seems to be a small anniversary for us, 5 years of marriage. What a dunce, I almost forgot it's always so good with meth at the bouquet. I didn't have time to hide it in the garages. Plans are changing, this bouquet will come to give to my wife and Zavra plus Ira." With these words, Sergey went up to the floor, pressed the doorbell of his apartment. A minute later, the doors swung open, and Olia appeared in the doorway, joyfully cried, "Oh yes, you with a bouquet, what a surprise! Yes, you put in yourself the significance," answered the husband. "You still me reproaches me for not remembering the dates of our holidays, but I remember this to you in honor of the 5th wedding anniversary." Handing Olia a bouquet, said Sergey. "Thank you," with a strange intonation in her voice. Olia handed it. "Yes, the anniversary is true, but tomorrow." Sergey was literally stunned, and not so much because he had made a mistake with the date. Already once again suddenly remembered inside the bouquet a gift from Iran in the box. Besides the decorations, there was also a note with an amin to wish. This was burned, pierced the head by a terrible cape, but there was nowhere to retreat, joyful about an abscess, and his mother put the bouquet in the water, and the frightened man only watched to see if the box had fallen into the water, and with relief realized that, no, it remained in the depths of the bouquet. Well, not finding anything else, Sergey mumbled better. As they say, realizing that something was freezing, he completely fell silent. Unexpectedly, the situation was discharged, beauty, and that's all, Olia. Yes, you, that I'm not happy. Do you even imagine how much such a miracle costs? Personally, I would be delighted such a gift. Olia also approached the bouquet. It was really gorgeous. She leaned down to inhale the scent of the flowers, and out of the corner of her eye noticed in the depths of the stems and foliage a gleam of some beautiful craft. At the same second, glancing at her husband, she noticed that he was all tense. Watching this scene, and as if he sighed with relief, looking after his mother who was leaving for the room, he didn't take out the little thing. "I hope that this is another surprise with money from the wedding, but since my husband is silent, maybe tomorrow he will present it. We'll see." We sat down at the table, but dinner took place in some kind of anxious, electrified atmosphere. We ate, exchanging meaningless phrases. The husband, seizing the moment, kept glancing at the bouquet. What was inside? Olia was racking her brains. It was not for nothing that he was so stubborn. It meant he truly loved her. But Sergey was tormented by another thought. How could he discreetly take the box from the bouquet? What an idiot I am. And I got myself into such a mess, and my mother is still watching me, trying to look at her, suggest, and does not understand anything. Everything is against me today to somehow diffuse the situation. Olia began to tell where to look at the children in the playroom. "You know, one boy has sunk into my soul so much. His name is Antoshka. Such a small, skinny like a sparrow, and such sad eyes. My dear, I don't need gifts, I ask. Let's take him into the family. Or at least let's go together. You'll fall in love with him too, but don't look at me. You promised to think about it. After all, the years are passing and we still don't have children. I'm suffering from this." My husband frowned and replied, dry, "Well, you found time for such conversations when I have a lot of work to do, when I'm traveling around shelters. I'm tired as a dog. I want my own children and will have them. Stop talking about this. My mother-in-law, Oleshka, I understand how difficult it is for you, but believe me, this noble impulse of yours is in fact we are learning." We are all with such a child, and this happiness will not be received by anyone. You be patient. You still young with Seryozha will definitely have their own children. No, I categorically do not agree to tolerate someone else's child in the house. Let's not spoil the family dinner. Let's close this topic. Olia was upset, and the rest of the evening passed even more crumpled. She herself grew up in an orphanage, and her mother-in-law knows about it. It turns out, and around her stand, who in the family, the mood completely disappeared, as well as the appetite. Finally, to everyone's pleasure, the painful dinner ended. Olia began to collect the dishes from the table. And when she had already reached the door, carrying it to the kitchen out of the corner of here, yes, she's our mother-in-law, secretly looking around, put her hand inside the bouquet, and took out something painful from the rem. My doubts, Olia began to go to bed, and Sergei remained in the room with his mother in front of the daughter-in-law, went to the clothes to put things in it, and suddenly, from behind the loosely closed doors, he heard the mother-in-law's whisper, "Are you completely crazy, son? You're already openly cheating on Olga. If so, you're walking on the side like that." Sweep away the traces, bought a bouquet and a gift for the mistress, and handed it to Zhenya. Well, let it be so. She was what now, and made excuses too. Husband, you know how much money he spent on this coup in the box to give it to her. It just happened somehow, the braid was crooked. Olga almost choked with anger. That's how he doesn't remember the wedding date, so it's sheer nonsense. It turns out that things are completely different here. I'm in the background in the family. Seryozha has a mistress. Now I'll go out and tell him everything I think about him now. And his mother is also good. She teaches him to cover up her tracks. She already grabbed the door handle, intending to enter the room, as immediately stopped herself. No, this is not good. Both will say at once. So you are eavesdropping to get out of it, and also make me feel guilty, so it won't work. Well, Seryozha, wait. I will still find out who you are cheating on me with, then you will pay for everything, and I was a fool. I thought my husband wanted to please me. How offensive and disgusting. Even Olia burst into tears and couldn't for a long time calm down. And when Sergei came close, pretending to be fast asleep, the man felt guilty, wanted to defuse the situation, began to stroke his wife's shoulder, shinning at a continuation. But Olia, probably for the first time, dryly muttered, "Don't touch me. I'm tired and I want to sleep." Sergei wasn't offended at all, even breathed a sigh of relief. Intimacy with his wife had been going on for a long time. He was not happy. All his thoughts were about the red-haired beast, and he immediately fell into his sweet dream, dreaming of how tomorrow he would hoog his mistress and give her his varnish. Woke up completely broken. There was no mood and did not want to see her husband and mother-in-law. At all, she quickly got ready and did not even have breakfast, ran off to work, swallowing tears and digesting everything that happened yesterday. The woman thought, "Here's your holiday. Here's a gift." Seryozha presented. How can you even live with him after that, to go to bed together, knowing that he caressed another and lies to her that he loves? Why live together at all? Then what kind of family is it? If you take a child from Serge's orphanage, he categorically does not want to cheat on him in the World Cup. Then what's the point? Maybe it's better to express my feelings to his face and get rid of these sad thoughts. Olia's working day has begun. She, as always, whitewashed the passengers, a familiar matter. Everything was done automatically, but bitter thoughts tormented her. That's how it is now with this. Yesterday heard live lodge, time put on the passenger standing in the aisle and leaning on Astic, she said, for the fair 40 rubles, already stretching out her hand to the bag with tickets. Now just a minute, said the old man embarrassedly, and began to rummage through the vast torn pockets of the jacket, the passenger standing nearby grinning one. Comedian decided hair for a while, night money. Olia was silent, for now, and patiently waited, and exactly the old man looked at her pitifully and mumbled, "Sorry, I don't have any money with men. Now whether I forgot to take it, or I lost it where I can't figure out. It's a pity not to drop it off. I'm going to the cemetery to see Zhenya calmly. I'm going today, it's her birthday. My Klava Olga had, according to the instructions, she be passengers without a ticket. Nanovafin right out passengers were indignant buzzed. Well, what are you standing there? Survive him, wall want to travel for free. IZ, you are the smartest stone you found. We know these old men. Stingy houses saved up, and the old man was still trying to save money, so he stood in his hole with his head down, not drinking, but waiting for the conductor's verdict. And Olia was so hot on her vest, she put the money in the conductor's bag and punched the ticket, gave it to her grandfather, and gave up her seat next to the driver. Here, take this as your ticket. Sit down. You can barely stand on your feet. Don't worry, it happens to everyone. I myself have lost my wallet twice. The driver has already seen this picture more than once. Try Nile. Hey, Olga, your kindness will ruin you. You'll spend your entire salary on these hairs. You need it. But Olia only answered sharply, it's my business. What difference does it make to you on the road? Better look, the ticket is paid. And this, the main thing, means violations. No, let Grandpa go where he needs to go. The old man kept thanking the conductor. You just saved me, he muttered, embarrassed. I don't understand how it all happened. It's very awkward. Honestly, the driver wasn't angry anymore. He did it just for the sake of forms, wearing he smiled to himself out of kindness. Rate Vrim paid for the ticket, then for the children who, as they say, tend to forget something, then for the elderly she has a kind soul, thought herself a good person. Ollie, now you won't meet such a person. The bus finally got tired of driving passengers and rolled up with the driver, and having handed over the proceeds went out the gate, looking out for the duty delivery transport. They were delivered those workers who Dakoriaz became a huge SUV. The passenger doors lammed, and Kolia was approached by a bus passenger to whom she bought a ticket today, but in this elderly, respectable man it was impossible to recognize that poor decrepit grandfather who dropped the money. Oli opened her mouth in surprise and blinked her eyes, trying to figure out what's going on. Man cuffed and spoke to her again. Hello, Oli. Please forgive me once again for causing you inconvenience. This morning, turning to Olga, the old man said, if you have time, let's step aside for a few minutes. Okay, she answered. I'm just afraid we missed the delivery car to go. Oh, you don't need to worry here, her interlocutor reassured her. By the way, my name is Grigory Semenovich. My driver will take you where you need to go, and continued. Maybe it will be strange for you to hear this, but my life circumstances are such that I have to make a decision very quickly. What are you and I talking about here? What's their relationship? You exclaimed. Oli, no, I'll tell you, the old man continued. The fact is that I am terminally ill and have no relatives. Now my wife died and my daughter died in a traffic accident. I am not a poor person. I achieved success with my own labor. It turns out that either the money after my death will go to the state income, and so I don't need to bequeath it to someone. I have no idea. Don't be surprised until I come here. I know everything about you. Found out money. You know open any secrets. You put me in a den with your offer. Grigory Semenovich, with confusion in the voice, answered, Olia, well, okay, you are a rich man. And why then did you ride to the bus today and without a penny in your pocket? So that was my planning. You see, if I was dressed like this now, they would have given me money. What do you think? And they wouldn't have grumbled. And no one considers beggars as people. They won't give me my money back anyway. And it turned out that you had a kind heart. You paid for my fare without thinking. Sat me down in my seat. And that means that you are a man with a capital letter. And this is an almost dying species in our time. I ask you to accept the inheritance from me with respect to the old man. No, Grigory Semenovich, with all due respect to you, I cannot agree to such an inheritance. Not to sit down. They say, Hat, very sorry, the old man lamented regretfully. However, think about it. After all, the money that you get is for various good deeds. If you don't need it, you can use it. If something happens, you will find me in the regional hospital for examination. They put Mether, and bitterly smiling added, you might think I have a diagnosis. I don't know how many doctors have examined me in the diagnosis. One after a pause has said, just don't drag it out. I'm unlikely to be able to stay in this world for long now. Their conversation with Grigory Semenovich was involuntarily overheard. Men mechanics from the garage where they repair buses, one of them knew Sergei, Olga's husband. Well understanding what was being discussed, he immediately dialed the number of an old school friend. Hello, Seryoga. This is Ilyuka Bobrov. Here is the thing, your wife blessed just refused the inheritance. I myself heard what their rich grandfather decided to give away assets and money from the account. She refused and left. I couldn't do that. You could have talked to her. If money falls from the sky on your head, so why refuse it? It's stupid. Well, you lucky got yourself going. And my wife also won the lottery. Sergei was stunned. He listened and couldn't believe that Olia was such a fool. Definitely blessed once he was precisely for kindness, tenderness, selflessness. And Polya, this young naive girl, these qualities began to infuriate him. But in fact, you need to be able to somehow adapt in life. And she was still in the clouds. The man decided to put pressure on her at home and already imagined where to spend these funds in business. There is no such thing as extra money. Olia said goodbye warmly to Grigory Semenovich and, not suspecting anything, entered the apartment. Usually at that time, Seryozha was not yet home, and then he howled to meet you in the hallway and did just that. Dropped you off from the car, wants to give you an inheritance, and you refuse. Are you out of your mind? I'm not a millionaire, you only get pennies. What extra money do I need? I'm going through a crisis. Sales have fallen, and a new cash infusion will only benefit the business. Don't be a fool. Agree. I hope you at least know where to look for a benefactor. Nejad didn't make such insults. Either. Who gave you the right to do so? Talk to me. Insult. How can you not understand? I don't know this person. How can I take his inheritance? You never know what kind of whim came into his head. Maybe he won't die, but on the contrary, he will recover. Anything can happen. Grigory Semenovich is a very good person, and I can't do this to him. He's just desperate now. That's why he decided on such madness. Of course, you're not a millionaire. I know everything too. So, the bracelet for the mistress is expensive, and Genya gets nothing. Thank you. There was a hitch. You brought the wrong bouquet home. And how long have you been cheating on me? Why are you wondering how to live with you after such? Tell me, he will also reproach me. Seryoja hesitated. He did not think that Olia understood everything and knew everything, but suddenly he realized that it was even better, and there was no need for you anymore. With this cooled marriage, and he said such a thing, well, what if Shadoko, yes, I love another woman before stupefying to the point of trembling. And now I myself do not understand why you once sank to my soul. I felt sorry for the orphan, probably how to live, how everyone lives. Or do you think that other men don't cheat? If you accept the inheritance and give it to him, then I won't get divorced. You'll disappear into the clouds, dreaming of some adopted child. You should thank me for getting married and living in a decent and respected family with everything you need. Mom, you accepted, at least for her it was. Oh, how not just like that? What do you lack? Live and be happy and forget about what you know. But if not, then I will do it, and you will be left on the street with nothing. Clear, let's call your Gregory and say that you agree. And let's forget this once. Olia was shaking. She could hardly understand every word her husband said. As if a nail had been driven into her soul, she ran around the house feverishly, throwing her things into a sports bag, screaming hysterically. How dare you, as if I were a mongrel dog picked up and washed, and I am nothing here, and I would live better in poverty without youth, and with such a scoundrel under the same roof. And who and what do I care about? It's none of your business to pass on to the inheritance. Goodbye, Seryoja, I hope we never see each other again. The man laughed like a fool blessed. Well then, get lost. You'll be pushed around. Where are you going to go, eh? As your Mishka has probably completely fallen apart over the years. There are no amenities. There, how long will you last like this? Olia jumped out, as if scalded. The rain was lashing her face, and the wind was burning her cheeks wet with tears, but the woman didn't notice anything, and she wandered through the evening city to her parents' house. She really had nowhere else to go. Getting home wasn't very far, only 20 minutes to the bus stop, but it was scary. There was darkness in some places. The street lights are burning. There are no passers-by. Thoughts in my head. Unpleasant things were wandering. If only nothing had happened, and now it was worth remembering about the trouble, as they were right there. Where are you rushing, beauty? A mocking voice was heard behind him in the toril of another. Yes, she must have gotten lost. We will help her. Now Olia turned around in fear. Her two guys were approaching, who were pretty drunk. One continued to quench his thirst with a bottle of beer. Leave me alone. I'm not touching you. Don't come near me. Olia screamed in horror. Help! How did they get here? Someone's cry. Are you looking for adventures? Freaks. Anu quickly disappeared. Leave the woman alone. One of the drunks, the one who drank from beer bottle, swung it, intending to hit the unexpected defender on the head, and yelled, You get out of here. It's none of your business. Or else, I'll give you some speed now. Look, Aknite has appeared on himself. Look at yourself, a weakling I had unleft. And the stranger deftly tripped the knight hero to the ground, and his friend decided that better to leave the harassment, grabbed the drunk friend by the arms. Both swearing at each other went somewhere into the depths of the yard. All this happened instantly. Olga had not yet recovered from fear, stood with her arms around her shoulders and cried. The stranger sympathetically touched her hand and said, Calm down, everything is fine. They left and will not return. Where do you have to go? I will take you. The young man told Olia that his name is Maxim, and that he works as a teacher in an orphanage, and at the same time teaches children drawing. I really like this job, firstly because I really love children. And he grew up in an orphanage, and he told his story. My parents died when I wasn't even going to school yet on vacation. Mom and Dad loved active recreation. That's why that unfortunate year, they decided to go rafting down a mountain river in a sports kayak on the stream. The kayak ran into a big rock and capsized, and my father and mother were never able to get out of the water. They drowned. I was left in the care of my grandmother, and since she was very ill, she soon died, and there were no other relatives. I was sent to an orphanage. Life in an orphanage was not sweet. Not only did the older children always bully and tease me, us younger, and hear or be that no one worthwhile from peers of senior school students, educators only did not touch that. Who could fight back? I couldn't give back to me, and I played it out. I was overcome with melancholy, and then I gave vent to tears. But the morning came, and everything repeated itself in a circle. With time, I realized that if it continued like this, then for long I wouldn't last. I began to sleep at home, and with warmth I had one friend, Edik, to whom I could open up if something was bothering me, and he would tell me. And it became easier. It was he who made me pump my abs and do push-ups through tears and pain. Then I was grateful to him for that. I remember one cool incident, celebrating my birthday. My friends and I arranged a sweet table with very delicious sponge cake, chocolates, and all sorts of overseas fruits. And then we were taken to the city to go go-karting. I will remember this birthday for the rest of my life, and only much later I found out that the teachers themselves paid for everything together, just like that. And it is worth a lot. After graduation, I began to live in my parents' apartment. I had to decide where to go to study or work because there was no one to wait for help from. That's why when the question of choosing a future profession arose before me, I went to study at a pedagogical college. I decided to tie my life to help them adapt to life. I try to convey to children my ability to instill in them a love for beauty so that they grow up to be kind and sympathetic people. I remember how I lacked parental affection as a child in an orphanage. I give children my warmth of soul. I help the councils and they reach out to me. I am happy about this. So sometimes mice ran around the rooms. And there were cockroaches too. We helped the teachers catch them. And this orphanage where I work is also old and needs repairs. But for this you need money. Olia listened and admired the man. Maxim, you are a great guy. You chose such a difficult profession. Probably your wife is proud of you. And why do they need a drawing teacher? Although I really dream of a family and children, but apparently it is not destiny. Olia, tell us about yourself. Where are you heading at such a late hour, and with such a huge bag area? Then we don't have the most prosperous woman, also sighed bitterly, and without hiding everything. I told Maxim it even became easier for her when I spoke out. That's how I was left without a husband and without a child. I dream of adopting him. But my husband and mother-in-law were categorically against it. But I don't really have anywhere to go. My little house was frail, even when I was a child. And after so many years, everything has changed there. It fell down, and there are no amenities. Well, what will you have to do? There are no other options, and tomorrow I have to go to work early in the morning. I am a conductor, an early bird, Masim VD, don't think anything of it. It's night already by the time you get there yourself. You say it's not clear what will happen to the house. When will I sleep? I live nearby. Here my house is visible. Don't be afraid. I won't offend you in any way. I'll lie down on a folding bed in the kitchen, and I'll make a bed for you in the bedroom. And tomorrow after work we'll go to your house. I'll help you carry things, and so on. If you need anything, I'm even pleased to take care of someone. You understand, it's hard to be alone on the edge of the dump. But I looked at Maxim's good eyes and agreed, thinking for sure that it would be faster all there. Ruins already, maybe collapsed completely. The man did not deceive, fed Olia tea, gave her a drink. Himself remained in the kitchen. Olia settled in the room, looked around the furnishings. Of course, poor repairs would not hurt, but everything was clean. At first, she could not fall asleep, kept listening. After all, the man was barely familiar, but hearing snoring from the kitchen, and she fell asleep thinking to leave quietly in the morning, so as not to disturb the owner. But when she entered the kitchen, the light was already on. Maxim was cutting bread and saying, "Sausage, good morning, Olga, can I be on first-name terms? We seem to have become a little friends. Here, take some sandwiches, I'm eating in the dining room. You're on the road all day. Have a snack in the evening. I'm still in power. I'll help you move." It felt so nice. She looked at him completely differently. He looks like he's killed. Thank you so much, Maxim, from the bottom of my heart for standing up for him, fighting off the hooligans, sheltering him. I'll be glad if you help. Until the evening. They exchanged phone numbers and went their separate ways for the day. Maxim several times wrote to her asking how she was feeling, whether she had eaten or not. Like Teako in feelings and emotions did not interest him at all. How her day went if he doesn't tell and doesn't ask in the evening. Maxim walked Oli out of her house and both gasped to live in. It was absolutely impossible. The roof had almost completely collapsed. The porch was destroyed. Weeds and desolation were everywhere. Tears welled up in the woman's eyes. She was panicking. And then again Maxim came to the rescue. He just took her by the hand and said, "Move in with me for good. The room is spacious. We'll buy another sofa." It's cramped, but not offended. Nuno, don't look at me. I'm not a maniac. He won't lay a finger on you. Is where I just sincerely want to help. Although I won't hide it that you are a woman, you are very attractive, and it is unlikely that you will like it. Talik me, we will be friends the only way, Utan answered. You are saving me again. Thank you, just mind you split the utilities in half, and I don't want to be in the bread box either. I promise I'll save up a little and move out while I still have money. I still wanted to ask hard. Maybe we'll go on the weekend to the shelter where I met Antoshka. I'm somehow afraid to approach him first, as a conversation to visit the child, to please him with something tasty. Maxim happily agreed and supported the woman. Of course we'll go to the children. I really love, we'll find them together, approach to your Antoshka. Well, let's go home, and so they began to live together. Olia was shy at first. She was afraid to take a spoon without asking, and it was not at home. But Maxim was such a pleasant and simple person that the embarrassment quickly passed. And Olia was already the hostess in the little house. Maxim watched from under the wheel as, with the appearance of Olia, his wretched bachelor apartment was imperceptibly transformed. It seemed like nothing special. They had just replaced the curtains, hung flower pots on the walls, hung a soft rug in the bathroom. A new faucet appeared. The woman kept admiring Maxim's paintings and persuaded him to hang one work on the wall. The autumn landscape frame turned out to be more comfortable. When I almost opened my mouth in surprise, it turned out that it was in this shelter that Maxim works and knows Antoshka very well. The boy, seeing his favorite teacher, immediately jumped up to him and started talking. "Hello, Maxim Leonidovich, we will have a drawing lesson today. How wonderful. And who is this new teacher with you?" Than smiled, sat the boy down on a chair, and started saying, hello Antoshka. "No, today is a day off. There will be no classes. Aunt Oli and I came to visit you. Look what we brought. Help yourself. Don't be greedy with your friends. Share this. Aunt Olia bought everything. Thank her. And also we would like to take you to the zoo. Take me away. I'll make arrangements." The boy's eyes lit up. He couldn't believe that all this was happening to him and Roders. "Thank you, Aunt Olia. You're great. Of course I want to go to the zoo. I'll get ready in a jiffy." The day flew by like an instant. Everyone was shaving fun, looking at beautiful huge fish lizards, peacocks with colorful tails. Antoshka fed the elk and roe deer with cabbage leaves and carrots that they took from the kitchen at the shelter. Olia somehow immediately got along with the baby, told him a lot about animals, and Maxim promised that at the next drawing lesson the topic would be how to draw an animal jazz, and hopefully asked Aunt Olia, "Will you still come to me? I'll wait for you." "I will be. You are good. You look like my mother, and your hands are like hers, warm and soft. Well, tell me you will come." Olia swallowed her tears, hugged the boy, and promised, "Think of a good one. I have a day off the day after tomorrow. I will definitely come. What tasty thing do you want to bring me?" "I really don't have much money, but for the sake of you, I'll try." The boy suddenly became serious and said, "There's no money, it's no thing. So come, we'll draw, we'll go for a walk, okay? My friends will be jealous, otherwise they'll tease me. That noon come stum, that noon needs me." Olia again didn't know how to thank Maxim. "This is the happiest day in my life. Antoshka, I will never leave him now. I feel his heart as my own. You see, he's like my own son. You don't know what documents are needed for adoption. Do you think they'll allow me?" Maxim shook his head and replied, "I understand your emotions, and I'm very glad that you have such a kind, loving heart. I've become attached. I urgently need repairs. I'm very afraid that if it's not, they will do that. What if they declare the building to be in disrepair and disband it? I don't know. I've already gone to the administration and contacted sponsors. Of course, they help as much as they can, but they can't allocate money for major repairs either. And as for adoption, that's also a very difficult question. I have thought about this more than once. I know I have a list of documents by heart. A complete family is needed, living space, stable official income. But if with DM points, it's somehow poor, VSI it's clear. Where am I going you want from the shelter, and there are no such people willing. And then Olia remembered the man who promised to put her inheritance. But where is he now and how to find him? Oh yeah, he'll name the hospital where he's being examined. Maybe his still, their Olia listen to Maxim. And then suddenly exclaims nay. And I have one idea, let's eat right in Bonyask. Yourself soon, you'll understand everything. Olia remembered the hospital number, bought some fruit, baked a delicious cottage cheese casserole with raisins, and went to Grigory Semenovich. But what a disappointment awaited her. When she found out that her grandfather was dying, I wanted to talk to him. To reassure him, she felt a little guilty that she remembered him so late. But if it's so urgent, we can take you to the ward, the nurse on duty suggested. And who are you to him, granddaughter? Olia blurted out without thinking. When she entered the ward, she saw Grigory Semenovich lying on the bed with his eyes closed. He was so thin that it was impossible to see his body under the blanket. Grandfather heard footsteps and opened his eyes. It seemed that only black eyes remained on the exhausted patient, and he seemed to recognize me. Renovka Olia was glad that he recognized him, and yes, even, and called granddaughter didn't correct. How good that you came. I wanted to see you so much before Idid God himself sent you to me. I want to tell you, baby, that I love you very much, and to inform you that I have made a will for you, that I am transferring all my money and all my inheritance to you. Olia came closer to the old man and bought them SBO for such. I ask you not to think about death. Miracles happen, God willing, and you will fix it. I brought you something tasty here, maybe you can eat. But the grandfather shook his head negatively. Thank you, granddaughter. I don't want. Idiot, maybe put it on the nightstand sometime later now. Why, some appetite. God bless you with all the best in life. You have grown up kind. It's good that I managed to see you. At these words, the man fell silent and seemed to doze off. He probably didn't even have the strength to speak. Olia sat for a little while holding the old man's dry hand in her hand and sighed, not knowing how she could help him. When Olia was walking home, the thoughts overwhelmed her. Such a good man, and he was dying. He should have lived a little longer. She felt sorry. It was Grigory Semenovich. He treated her so warmly. She was even called granddaughter some time ago. Olia called the hospital to find out about her grandfather's condition. They told her that he had died. Olia went to the hospital, and in the emergency room they handed her a note asking her to come to the specified address in the notary's office. With postscriptus in your interests. When she came to this office, she was given a will and a letter which said that Olia is the granddaughter of Grigory Semenovich. For some reason during his lifetime, he was never able to tell her this. The grandfather described in detail how everything really happened. Olia's mother was the only and beloved child in the family of Grigory Semenovich. Parents doted on her. Everything was in her school. She studied well, was going to enter the university, and outwardly what a booty, she was already in her second year of university. She met a visiting builder. They were building in the micro-district industrial buildings. Off the plant, the daughter fell in love with this Andreyes. She began to miss classes at the university without memory. And soon she was expelled for being uneasy. She gave birth to a girl named Olia. At first, she lived with her builder in a rented apartment. However, the builder left in an unknown direction, leaving her alone with the child. Her father and mother helped her and persuaded her to return home. But I didn't advise her more with them, but with a friend who could often be seen drunk, and her daughter started drinking. And one day she took the child and moved out of the apartment with her friend. Her parents searched for her for a long time, and only 6 months later, they found out that she had abandoned the child in an orphanage on the advice of her friend, and she herself tragically died after being hit by a car, and the child was taken into foster care. Olia literally burst into tears, reading the letter. My God, why is she still on this? Why did he call her granddaughter, and why didn't they tell her about it a little earlier? She could have thanked him, warmed him with attention and affection. How much is lost? She learned from a letter about her birth, about their mother. A surge of feelings filled her heart there, and love for her grandfather, and a feeling of guilt before him. And something else that was impossible to explain, why Mom so quickly trusted a person who was essentially a stranger, acted so cruelly. Why did she break down so easily? After all, there were loving parents who would have protected and helped. She walked home without seeing the road because her eyes were filled with tears. Olia was in shock from all these events. Unexpectedly, she became heiress of her grandfather's property, but she did not feel joy from this news, but rather sadness. Drive away the packet turned out so. Without having time to find her grandfather, she immediately and lost Maximal nearby, neither about the World Cup, yet did not ask. Saw how bad Olia just held her hand already a thome. He gave her some water to drink, as dative. Pilen decided to ask, share with me, you will feel better. What was in the letter on you there is no face Java, and inside, and started to say, I understand you like noon else. I am from an orphanage, and I know how much I want to know at least something about myself, about my family. And you, not having time to find your grandfather, immediately lost him. It is painful and hard. Survive and don't judge, Mom. No one knows what moved her when she left you. This is her cross, and she is also no longer on this earth. You need to live on and bury. Grigory Seno is a very noble man, even if he didn't know about you during his life, but he took care of your fate before his death. Even if may the earth rest in peace, he kissed Olia on the top of her head, and so they stood hugging each other and feeling the closeness of thoughts. The kinship of souls Olia and Maxims, so off their grandfather on his last journey, and now the woman has entered into her inheritance rights, and did not even suspect what trials she would got through when she passed away Isma. Now you cannot Thidian brought home a new mistress. He bought a chic bouquet of champagne airing expensive and went to meet her. Irma's always looked stunning, impeccable figure. Chic dress, hair waterfall built on shoulders. She happily accepted the bouquet and playfully asked, hello bouquet. For some reason, Sergei took out the box with the ring, solemnly opened and said, beloved, finally I'm free. Olga herself left home for good, filed for divorce. She found out everything about us, but I'm even glad about it. I'm exhausted in separation, tired of hiding, moving with me and Miriam come out. He expected that Irma would also be happy this news, but no, her face is stretched out in amazement. Even here, your eyebrow rose. She suddenly burst out laughing and started saying scary things are. You serious, Orest? This such a stupid joke. So you think that I will go live with your mother? Nano, you are funny. Do I look crazy? That's another thing. I don't. Sergei grabbed to be embarrassed. It didn't even occur to him that something was wrong. Olga had endured everything and hardly complained. Then he again suggested, well then let me move in with you. Your comfortable 2-room apartment is also nothing, but we will be together. I dream about it so much. And Irma frowned again. Listen, darling, did you ask me if I wanted to? Should I get married before everything is decided for me, young beautiful woman? I have my own apartment, and I do what I want in it. And what are you suggesting to me to cook you cabbage soup, wash your pants, adapt to your character, and why do I need all this, Serge? Accept everything as it is. As a lover you suit me completely, and in bed you try not to be gritty and gallant. But that's all. I am an independent woman like a cat. You can't tame her. Everything stays a sizz or web breakup, so it's clear. Well, what are you, frozen kitty? Open the champagne. I don't mind relaxing. Give me massage. Look, what am I luxury lingerie bought? Italy mistress tried to pull Sergei Shalov by the tie, but hair coiled. He was humiliated, trampled. He did not want to believe that Irma was not going to live with him, to build a family. The man was offended and left loudly, slamming the door. Irma only shrugged her shoulders, thinking, well, as you know, Kitty, tomorrow is necessary. Go for a walk with a friend to a restaurant. Apparently, it's time to find a new one. She wiped off the champagne from her gentleman and shackled herself up, throwing her slender legs onto the ottoman. Sergei was just one of no more for her. Sergei was furious, scolding his mother at home. I'm a fool, an idiot. Why did I drive Olga away? And now she's a rich heiress. You see, her grandfather turned up and left a will. Yes, died. I was so lucky. I didn't think that Irma was such a pro four. What should I do now, Mom? Elena Petrovna tried to find a solution. She loved her son more than life and wanted to help him with all her might, and then she gave him away. And don't be sad. Olga, you fool, blessed one. She loves you and will forgive you. You'll see. Find her, tell her to make peace. Tell her that you love her and that you're ready to raise this kid from the orphanage. This is what she wanted more than anything. And when she comes back, I'll work on her. Let's put the money to work. Don't worry, I wasn't always thrilled, but as a wife, she'll do just fine. I got busted myself. This died. I was so lucky. I didn't think that Irma was such a pro four. What should I do now, Mom? Elena Petrovna tried to find a solution. She loved her son more than life and wanted to help him with all her might, and then she gave him away. And don't be sad. Olga, you fool, blessed one.